You cannot change somebody else.
How dare you?
How much for his?
Enough!
But you can change yourself if you want to. We always start with you. If you want to develop excellent social skills or people skills, if you like, you have to have self-awareness. People are interesting. Most people are curious about why we do it the way we do it and how people are wired. Maybe the human brain is the most complicated organ on the planet. Men have a higher proclivity for violence than women have. Men are a little bit more task-oriented. Women are a little bit more relation-oriented. It's about when the frontal lobe closes. What that means cognitively is that now you can make decisions and understand the consequences. That happens at the age of 23, 24 when it comes to young men. It happens around 18, 19 when it comes to young women.
Yeah, I find this just like exactly on that point of what's kind of a little bit deeper. I find interesting the distinction you kind of just made between you being a behaviorist versus a psychologist, because for me, from what I understand, the colors are very much kind of what underlie and drive the behavior, kind of that base kind of brain mechanism. And a behaviorist, at least maybe from my understanding, would focus more on the behaviors themselves. So with the color theory, where does the substantive evidence come for these personalities? Is it more from the behaviors themselves, or is it kind of more from an analysis of, for example, brain pattern, or I don't know, where is the focus there when you're looking at analyzing personality type?
It's based on psychology. I mean, this goes back to Jung, to Carl Jung. And then you have William Moulton Marston, who sort of laid the foundation for what we now call the disc analysis, the disc assessment. The first vector analysis was made by Arthur Clarke, mid-50s something. The interesting thing when it comes to the disc profile, and some people criticize it, and I understand completely why, it has been developed within the corporate world, so we don't have all the secrets. It's not laid out there. It's like with Myers-Briggs, we don't know exactly how these algorithms and measures behaviors work. It's a bit different when it comes to the Big Five theory, let's say, because nobody owns the Big Five theory. It's just based on psychological studies, research, let's say. None of these tools explains everything. All of them explain something, but they are not complete. But for me, that's not a problem. I'm more into using an assessment tool that works than using a tool that is 100% precise. Because those tools are usually so complicated, so I wouldn't reach this audience if I tried to, explain everything about the human brain. I don't think anyone can do that. I don't think anyone understands the human mind 100%. We learn as we go. You mentioned, I think you mentioned neuroscience. I think the neuroscientists, neurobiologists, maybe they will figure out what psychologists have been trying to figure out the last 130 years, because they can actually measure brain patterns and so on. It's really interesting to see what happens there and where the blood flows go and so on, what happens in the frontal lobe and your amygdala. And you can measure psychopathy these days by, checking the amygdala, because what regulates flight and fright and other things as well, but among some things. So you can actually see from a brain scan who is a psychopath and who isn't. And so but still, maybe the human brain is the most complicated organ on the planet. Maybe, possibly. I would vote for that if somebody would put a gun to my head. I would say that's probably the most complicated organ we know about. But we are learning more as we go. Every year, new research comes, and new development processes and new method, and it's super interesting. But still, you have to explain it in a useful manner. And back to your question, Lucas, why would anyone want to read about it? Well, if you can put it in context, this is useful. I can use this in my daily life. That's interesting. I don't have to go to Harvard or anywhere. I can actually read a couple of books and learn a lot about myself. That's fascinating.
So I guess you've kind of already answered it to an extent. But then what's the specific reason you've chosen, I suppose, disc analysis as opposed to the other one you mentioned, which I think is Big Five analysis? Is it purely practicality, or do you think there's an element of precision or something else that's different about the approach that you've chosen through which to describe psychology to people?
Well, there are some incidents in my previous life, let's call them, that put me on this very specific track. Uh, I am also licensed when it comes to MBTI or Myers-Briggs. I found that people don't remember the letters, MBTI, ENTJ, ITPK, ENFJ, DEIA, as in, did I eat that? People just don't remember. Some do. The blue people do, and most people don't. But they remember their colors. I would say these assessments are comparable. MBTI is 16 personalities. They call it personalities. This doesn't talk about personality really, which I think is more of an honest approach. But again, I haven't invented this. I just put it in the book. So what do I know really? But you can combine the four colors algorithmically speaking 19,468 ways, I think. So there's a lot of combos there. The Big Five theory is probably more precise, but it's also much, much trickier. And people using the Big Five theory, they say it describes personalities. It has an extra layer. And other people say you can't use 5 factors. You need to use 6. You have this hexagon method. No, 6 is too little. You need to 10 measurements. You have to, and so who knows? I'm not a professor. I don't write essays for people from universities. I try to reach, just the average guy. And if I can make people curious and they pick up another book and go to another lecture, I'm a happy guy. That's my aim, to make people curious and to lure them into the topic in itself, to explore themselves, let's say. That's my aim, and I think that's a good way to start.
Do you want to frolic freely at the beach, hairless both upstairs and downstairs? Tired of being left bloody, stumbling and alone because of a bad razor? Then you know what to do. Get yourself a Manscaped. With the new Beard and Balls bundle, you can stay fresh all over. Use the discount code LOW for 20% off now.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that clip from our interview with Thomas Erikson, the author of Surrounded by Idiots. If you'd like to check out the full interview, you can click right here. Please like and subscribe and drop a comment with your thoughts down below to keep supporting the channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.